What sorts of food was eaten by people in boarding houses, restaurants, and saloons in the Old West during the 1870s and 1880s? Even after some simple research, it became clear that food at the time was more complicated, interesting, and flavorful than anyone could easily assume. A quick glance at list of items grocery stores were selling reveals that Old Western towns such as Leadville had an interesting and diverse diet. This is a big topic, and as always, I have decided to use Leadville as a case study to keep the research area manageable. This is not a definitive study of the subject, just my attempt to get curious and perhaps entertain with some factual fun in the process. Published in 1889 by the Herald Democrat Steam Book and Job Printing House from recipes collected by the Ladies' Congregational Church, the Cloud City Cookbook is probably as close as we can get to knowing exactly what was steaming on dinner tables in Leadville and other western towns during the 1870s and 1880s. More than that, we can see exactly what ingredients they contained and generally how to make them. Recipes from this time tended to assume a great deal of cooking experience from the cook, and thus rarely mention any precise measurements or methods beyond the very basic. These recipes were designed for housewives, although it is likely that anyone at the time was using these ingredients, techniques, and styles of cooking. The book is divided into the following sections, all with interesting insight into what was eaten and how it was prepared. Soups. These included tomato, onion, macaroni, veal, rice and asparagus, and celery. Bread, yeast, gems, etc. At a time when making large quantities of yeast was important, both at home and in businesses, everyone made their own variety. This one involved potatoes, hops, ginger, sugar. Presumably, this would have made a sort of starter-like material to add to breads or other dishes that required leavening. Breads include Boston brown bread, potato bread, griddle cakes, rusk, or a sort of biscuit, and the famous Johnny cake. Salads, including at least 5 types of cabbage slaws or cold slaws. I can personally attest to how well cabbage grows in Leadville's subarctic climate, so much of this vegetable was clearly eaten because it grew well. Pies. These include both meat and sweet pies. Cake. In this largest section of the book, there are at least 15 recipes for cookies, 4 for donuts, 30 for various cakes, some Spartan or some unusual, and these include cheap sponge cake, cornstarch cake, rolled jelly cake, ice cream cake, and macaroons. Puddings and sauces. Many of these were not the soupy, milky substance we think of today, but were a boiled variety, and there were also a few baked varieties. Dessert. This included mostly jellies and aspects of various flavors. Miscellaneous. This section details some interesting main and side dishes, such as creamed oysters, chili sauce, which looks more like a Midwestern chili variety and not a Southwestern hot chili, pickles. Spiced beef caught my eye, and it included spices such as savory, which is a Mediterranean herb, marjoram, and salt and pepper. In this case, the term spice probably meant a dish with many herbs and not with hot peppers. I was also interested in hot mush bread for dinner and foam sauce. Candies. There are 6 recipes for such interesting types as peanut candy and French cream candy. The last section is a set of household hints. Interesting ones include the raw ingredients for stain removers and homemade oven mitts. Books such as this were a common phenomenon in those days. Many ladies' church societies published such books during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, preserving a localized set of dishes for us to explore. If you live in a town or city that dates from 1850 to 1920, you can probably find a localized cookbook such as this one from this era in your town. This particular book was especially useful for Leadville cooks, as the high altitude of the city at 10,200 feet was and still is a hindrance to cooking, and especially baking. But how many of these dishes were also made in restaurants or boarding houses? Another important source of information on Leadville food are the many ads for restaurants that appeared in newspapers. Checking the city directory, Leadville had 10 restaurants during the year the Cloud City Cookbook was published, and most of these published ads in the local newspaper. Ads that ran during this time can give us brilliant insight into everyday dishes of Leadville, as in some instances, and especially on holidays, these businesses would publish a bill of fare to entice people to their dining rooms. One of these bills that especially caught my eye was for meals during Thanksgiving and Christmas of 1889. One ingredient in particular caught my eye: possum. This ingredient was regularly and unironically mentioned many times in the 1880s and was often paired with sweet potatoes. A short factoid in an 1884 newspaper revealed who in particular enjoyed eating this animal on holidays. The Georgian's mouth waters while he talks of possum, hedged in with brown gravy and sweet potatoes with sugar on them. A Georgia editor who attended a hunt and the subsequent feast remarks, "It was the first possum we ever ate, but if our legs hold out, it will not be the last." Leadville municipal judge was identified as an enthusiast of this dish also in another factoid later that same week. It is a positive fact that Judge Sale will have a possum dinner on Christmas Day. A further interesting account regarding this unusual dish came from a meeting of a black men's organization called the Free and Easy Club in early 1885. Immediately after the Free and Easy Club broke up in a row on Sunday night and all the members ran out into the snow because they thought the lamp Mr. Estes had thrown on the fire was about to burst, Tinhorn Epps met Amphazan Nichols. It will be remembered that the former had sneaked off with a dishpan full of yellow yams, soaked brown in possum gravy, while Amphazan had wrestled a possum from Rustler Blobson by the pure force of awkwardness. Epps proposed to Nichols that they go to his house, which was nearby, and warm the stolen stuff over and have a banquet of their own. Nichols accepted the proposition, and they both were soon stationed in front of an old-fashioned blazing wood fire, watching the possum and yams warm. A list of dinners provided by different saloons during 1888 provides even more insight into the dishes and foods eaten in this Old West town. Almost all of the saloon men furnished sumptuous free lunches and delicious drinks to their customers on Christmas Day, partly at least to show their perhaps unconscious interpretation of the divine proclamation of peace on earth, goodwill towards men. The refreshments provided at the different schools this Christmas were as follows: Dick Berryman's, possum, sweet potatoes, corn dodgers, turkey, celery, roast pig, etc., with an abundance of delicious liquids to wash them down with. Some of Dick's friends presented him with a fine fruitcake to indicate their opinion of how he had snatched and dilapidated the linen, etc. The Elk, champagne flips, eggnog, Tom and Jerry, and an elegant lunch. Moulton's, possum, shrimps, relishes, and liquids. Mack and Thompson, turkey, possum, relishes, eggnog, champagne punch. Hobill and Company, champagne, imported beer, and delicious lunch. Court Exchange, turkey, eggnog, Tom and Jerry, etc. The Clipper, roast pig, turkey, cold slaw, potato salad, roast beef, and liquors galore. Hyman's, 7 barrels of turkeys, 8 cases of champagne, etc. Riley and Flood, eggnog, Tom and Jerry's, etc. Sam Jacobs, champagne punch at both places ad libitum. Board of Trade, unlimited liquids of the finest quality. Opera House, champagne, eggnog, etc. There were many other similar lunches provided elsewhere, but the reporter wasn't able to get any further. He hopes those who may have been left out will make some excuse for this carrying capacity, which is but small for a reporter. One of the earliest bills of fare to be published in a Leadville newspaper was for a party hosted by a local firefighter company. It included baked Mackinaw trout, turkey and quail pie, prairie chicken on toast, green peas, lobster salad, nuts, cake, and coffee. There were no wines or liquors of any description used at the dinner, which was most thoroughly enjoyed by all who were fortunate enough to be present. The following year, a Presbyterian church served the following foods at a Christmas dinner: The following is the bill of fare for the dinner today given by the ladies of the Presbyterian Church in the basement of the new post office building, corner of 5th Street and Harrison Avenue. Oyster soup, roast turkey with jelly and cranberry sauce, roast beef, ham, tomatoes, corn, potatoes, peas, cold slaw, pickles, mince, pumpkin, cranberry pie, celery, cake, plum pudding, and coffee, and all of it for $1. Children half price. Oysters without dinner, 50 cents. It is interesting to note that oysters were one of the cheapest options here and were offered alone for the lowest price, despite the fact that Leadville is deep in the Rocky Mountains far from the nearest ocean. Finding out how these notoriously easy to spoil food items got here and were still edible, not to mention inexpensive, is another study unto itself. Insight into a more normal working man's lunch that was not served on a holiday can be seen in 1883. It included tomato soup, roast ribs of beef, spare ribs, and vegetables. Macaroni soup, loin of mutton, spare ribs, and vegetables. In March of 1885, the recently opened Grand Hotel posted another interesting bill of fare. Look at the elegant bill of fare at the Grand Hotel today. Soup, chicken giblet, fish, baked white sauce espagnole, boiled ham, corned beef and cabbage, tongue, mutton, butter sauce, beef, horseradish sauce, roast, loin of beef, ribs of beef with brown potatoes, mutton, roast turkey with cranberry sauce, entrees, baked pork and beans, fricasseed chicken with dumplings, oyster patties au champignon, calf brains with scrambled eggs, Jenny Lind pancakes au confiture, farina fritters, and lemon sauce. Vegetables, mashed potatoes, boiled potatoes, tomatoes, hot slaw, peas. Pastry, lemon and plum pie, vanilla ice cream, peach ball with cream sauce. Assorted cake, nuts, raisins, apples, tea, coffee, milk. The nearby resort of Soda Springs in 1888 published the following. Sunday dinner at the hotel at Soda Springs will consist of oyster soup, trout, oysters in every style, turkey and cranberry sauce, besides the regular bill of fare. Stop there. Hopefully this has been an interesting dive into the mysterious and exotic world of food from the olden times in one wild western town.